over the podium to the person responsible for the manner in which our summer read has evolved in recent years. And this is a special introduction for me because not only is she the District Director of Instructional Services for Language Arts here at both high schools, but she is also my wife. And I am extremely proud to proud of all of her hard work over the last 5 years, bringing the summer breeze to come alive. But I have to say that in the 5 years that we've been doing this is by far the best experience with the summer read that we have had here at Morris Hills and at Marshall. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce Ms. Jennifer Torres.
My dream when starting Summer Read 5 years ago was for it to really become an experience for the whole community. This year, more than ever, I felt that dream become more of a reality. So before I introduce Paige, I would like to extend my gratitude to everyone who helped make such a wonderful communal experience. This begins with the English department staff, of course, the district administration, the school administrative teams, the Board of Education, the Rockaway Township, Borough, Wharton, Denville Municipal Alliances, especially Mrs. Gabriel, the NJEA, the Morris Hills Custodial Secretarial staff, all the students who made these beautiful posters and postcards, teachers and staff members, the SGA, TLC, all the clubs, and athletic teams who got directly involved with the program, especially during the 5K run, and all of the individuals who have embraced this project in its inception up until now. Thank you 100 times over. I am truly grateful. There are a few other individuals who have positively contributed to this experience today, and I just want to take a moment to recognize them. Mrs. Pankowski, my assistant and right hand, Ms. Bauer, Ms. Rotunda, Mrs. Whitson, Mr. Edwish, Mrs. Schwartz, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Malandrino, Mr. Swan, Officer Paige, Lieutenant Dave Young, Ubaldo Sanchez, Mrs. Barkosi, Mr. Merle, Mr. Melvin, Mr. Baraka, Mr. Meehan, Mrs. Sakos, Mrs. Pankowski and Mrs. Dambrowni, Mrs. Yeager, Mrs. Piccinini, students Emily Chan and Lauren Sisson, for the beautiful mural in there, for the awesome 5K video. And last but not least, Mr. Torriello, who has embraced the message of summer read and made it part of the fabric of Morris Hills with his school-wide message to paint the world positive. And who deals with me on a daily basis as I plan this year-long project. Thank you all so much. It truly takes a village.
Hi everybody. So first I just really want to thank you guys so much. I told the group earlier this morning that as a school, you guys have inspired me. I've never gone into school and had postcards and posters and banners and t-shirts. So this is a whole new, wonderful, amazing experience for me. But I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of HAPH 101 and share my story with you guys. Read a small passage from my book and then give you guys a chance to ask some questions. So, are you guys shy? Okay, so, can I have your brave soul raise your hand and tell me what this stands for? Anybody?
I think it's like hyper-immunodeficiency virus or something.
So it is immunodeficiency virus, but that's not the H.
Human. Oh,
There you go. Yes. So human immunodeficiency virus is what? What?
It's still unfortunate, it's still bad.
So we still have two or three. So HIV is a specific type of virus known as a retrovirus. And what this virus does, it invades your helper T cells, which also known as your white blood cells. Basically, your white blood cells, they're what helps you fight off infection. So a person that is HIV positive, it is harder for them to fight off a cold or a viral infection. There is no cure for HIV or AIDS, but there are plenty of treatments out there. An even braver soul to tell me what this stands for. Yes. Yes. So it does. Yes. This means that you do not start off with an AIDS diagnosis. When someone contracts HIV, everyone always starts out with being HIV positive. HIV and AIDS, there is a difference. We have what's called a CD4 count, which measures your white blood cells and your cells that are infected with the HIV virus compared to the cells that aren't infected with the HIV virus. So the CD4 count, if it's 200 or below, that is when it's considered an AIDS diagnosis. Once it gets to that point, that's when people can get AIDS-related illnesses, also known as opportunistic infections. There's certain pneumonias and meningitis that only people with an AIDS diagnosis can get. So HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. Again, there is no cure for HIV or AIDS. So HIV transmission. There are only 4 bodily fluids that can be passed. Some people think saliva is one of them. That is not the case. It would take 10 to 12 gallons of infected saliva for there could even be the slightest chance. Now, if you guys can come in contact with 10 to 12 gallons of saliva outside of the body, I don't know how you did it, but it's weird. But if you, so that would be the only thing. But also, the virus, it dies within seconds of being outside of the body. So therefore, even if some crazy way you came up with that much saliva, there's no way that it could be passed because the virus dies. So routes of transmission. So there's 3 kind of different ways that the virus can be passed. Perinatal, so I was born HIV positive, so my mom had passed on the virus to me when I was in. So also, breast milk when you're breastfeeding your child, that's a possible way. Window period. Basically what this means, if you were to go out today and contract HIV, if you go to a testing site tomorrow and get an HIV test, it's not going to show up. There's a 3 to 6 month period in which the virus can lay dormant, kind of hidden in your immune system. That's why they say go every 3 to 6 months for an HIV and STD test, because that's the only way you're going to, surefire way that you're going to know whether you're HIV positive or negative. HIV testing. There's 2 different types. There's a blood test and an oral swab test. You can go into a clinic and there's about Q-tip looking thing about this long, and they swab it inside your mouth, put it in a little test tube, and 20 minutes later, you'll have the answer on whether you're HIV positive or negative. If that test comes back positive, then they'll do the blood test just to 100% know if it's an HIV positive or negative result. Law for HIV testing. If you are 12 years old or older, you do not have to have a parent's consent to get an HIV test. What this also means is if the clinic were to call your house and say, I have results for so-and-so, if your mom or dad or your guardian answers the phone, legally they cannot disclose any information to your parents, or if your parents find out that you went and they show up at the clinic, they can't tell your parents anything without your personal consent. Also, school notification. It is not required for any student, teacher, faculty member, or whoever is at the school to disclose their HIV status. What this also means is that on the health, sport, physical forms, a person who is HIV positive does not have to put their HIV status on there. And that's because we have universal precautions. So, just have it there, there's gloves and things like that that all schools know about in case there are people that don't know their HIV status, or we don't know, what, you might come in contact with. So we have that policy, universal precautions to kind of protect the identity of people who are positive or people with other illnesses. HIV risk reduction. So I go to a camp called Camp Kendall, as you guys know, and I work with the 7 to 9-year-old little girls, and they don't listen very well. And so we have a little saying we like to tell our campers, whether it's the 7-year-olds or the 15-year-olds, just to kind of get in their mind, like during that 8 days of camp. And I think it works perfectly with HIV risk reduction, actually. So here's the thing. If it's wet and it's not yours, don't touch it. So basically, that saying, it kind of wraps up HIV risk reduction. All those bodily fluids, if you're going by that saying, you're okay. It's not going to happen to you. So that saying is just kind of what, I guess didn't the last group laughed. But that saying is what, we tell our campers, and I think it just also applies to HIV risk reduction. People infected with HIV. So you can't look at someone and tell that they're HIV positive. They look just like everyone else. They can be healthy. They can live long, productive lives with HIV. So basically what this means is just because I'm HIV positive, that does not mean that at some point I'm going to end up with an AIDS diagnosis. As long as I take my medications and I'm undetectable, which what that means is the virus is no longer active in my body. So because I've been taking the medication since I was 3 years old, my immune system has gotten stronger over the years, and it's now, the virus it's not active, it's not constantly killing all of those healthy cells in my immune system. And so if I were to go take one of those oral swab tests, there's a chance that it could come up, 50-50 chance it could come up HIV positive or negative. And that's because the virus is so controlled, and that only happens with people, that are on medication and taking care of themselves. So just because someone is HIV positive does not mean that that's going to be the cause of, why they pass away. Statistics. So every 9.5 minutes, someone in the United States contracts HIV. So think about, how long we've been in this room, how long you've been at school, at school all day. Every 9.5 minutes that's gone by, someone has contracted the virus. And about more than half of the new infections are between the ages of 15 and 24. So that's high school and college age students. Whether that's because they're not educated or they don't have, whatever it may be, it's just that age group is the age that kind of takes up, all the new diagnoses that are coming out every year, the majority between high school and college age students. 600 babies are born with HIV every day worldwide, and only about 100 to 200 of those babies are from the United States. More than 1.2 million people in the U.S. are currently living with HIV, and 1 in 8 of those people don't even know their HIV status. So it's kind of a scary thought to think out of those people, only 1 in 8. 1 out of those 8 people don't know. So it just comes in mind, just know your status, get tested, things like that. So this, as you guys know, this is my memoir, Positive. I also was a part of a film called It's Not Over. And it was a film, the director was Andrew James. Any of you guys seen the show, James? No. You guys are so shocked.
I've seen it.
We've seen it.
But, so this movie, basically, Andrew James, he took 1 person from the U.S., 1 person from Africa, and 1 person from India. And he followed each of us around for about a week and a half, and just to show our stories about how these 3 different people are impacted by the virus. But, we're just like everybody else. So this film is on Netflix, it's on Hulu Plus. If you watch Pivot, it's on Pivot sometimes. So it's just a good film. I don't know. It's not a boring documentary where they sit and recite facts to you, or it's actually pretty, I think it's pretty funny. But that just might be biased opinion. But so they followed my roommates and I at college, and we took a road trip out to Nebraska. So it's a pretty cool film, and you get to see, the differences between how people who are HIV positive are treated in the U.S. compared to how they're treated in India or Africa. So as you guys know, the reason that I'm here is because I was born HIV positive. My mother, when I was 2.5 years old, she had these flu-like symptoms. She couldn't really seem to shake off what was happening. she constantly was going to the doctor, going to the emergency room. They couldn't figure it out, and at one point she finally confided to her doctor that my dad had been unfaithful. At that moment, they thought, let's do an HIV test to see what comes up, and it just so happened it came back positive. I was, believe it or not, a really chubby baby. The only thing I'd ever had wrong were ear infections. So my doctor and my mom thought, there's no possible way that she could be HIV positive. And right before my 3rd birthday, they did a test and were surprised that it came back positive. Growing up, my mom never made me feel like being HIV positive was any different, or taking medication or going to the doctor was anything out of the ordinary. I thought this is just what every kid that I was friends with, every kid I was going to school with, they were going to the doctor every 3 to 4 months to get blood drawn and to get a checkup. I didn't understand everything that was happening. Until 5th grade, I started to put the pieces together and realized that none of my friends are doing all of these things and these precautions that I have to take. And me being the nosy child that I was at the dentist and he left my file open. And I saw where it said asthma, HIV with a plus, and the plus was circled. I was 12. I didn't understand what that meant. I came home, talked to my mom about it. She said, you are HIV positive. This had been why your father had passed away. My dad lived in denial about his HIV status up until his deathbed. He passed away from one of the AIDS-related illnesses when I was 6 years old. Whether it was, he was afraid of the stigma that was out there towards HIV or what it was, we didn't know. But he was one of those people that lived in denial about it until his deathbed. I would explain, as long as you take your medication, you'll live, just a normal life like any other kid. I didn't think anything of it, so I kept going to school, didn't really have any more questions. Middle school came along, I met a girl who became my best friend and I thought I could share everything with. At a school lock-in, I confided to her that I was HIV positive from birth. At that moment, she didn't seem to have a problem with it. She thought, she hugged me, she, just kind of brushed it off her shoulder like it didn't matter. Within a couple of weeks, my entire middle school knew my HIV status. I was corrected to beat up, I had no left on my locker saying no AIDS at the school. I had a nickname Paige that I was referred to as. And it was just really hard for me going from, I was a soccer player, cheerleaders, show choir, I was doing all these things that I loved doing, and I started to lose my friends because of one little thing that they found out about me. I didn't know what made the difference of them knowing my HIV status then, rather than them being my friend when I didn't know. I kept going to school. It eventually got really hard for me. I had gone to a school counselor numerous times, and her advice to me was that I could deny I was HIV positive. This was someone I should have been able to go to for advice. I should have been able to go to for support. The only thing she did, she sent the kids back to class with verbal warning. I felt like they should have educated the students. They should have let them know you don't have to be afraid of someone who's HIV positive. There's no chance going to school with someone hugging or me coughing or sneezing or whatever it may be that anybody was at risk. 7th grade, came along. The bullying continued. It got to a point where I hated going to school. I loved school. Right now I'm taking a year off and I actually miss going to class. Just kind of weird. I miss going to class, and so I was missing school because I started having these seizure-like symptoms. We couldn't figure out what was going on. After 9 months, they diagnosed me with what was called a conversion disorder. And one of the symptoms were pseudo-seizures. And they said they were brought on by the stress that I've been going through and the bullying that I've been going through in school. My mom would go to wake me up for school, and I wouldn't wake up. They said that they call it being catatonic. So they said that, my brain, I just was so miserable going to school that it was shutting down. When my mom would come to wake me up, I just wouldn't wake up. She'd have to take me to the ER when, when things like that would happen. I didn't understand what was going on. Don't really have recollection of any of those incidents, but I just realized how much made the soccer team at my first away game, my soccer coach approached me and said, "By the way, I heard you have Paige that." I told her no because I'm HIV positive and there is a difference between HIV and AIDS. I came home really upset because she had asked me in front of other players, there were parents behind the bench, didn't think this was the appropriate time to be asking this question. I came home, told my mom, and a couple days later my mom confronted the soccer coach. The coach went on to make a joke. She said that we could use my HIV status to our advantage and the players on the other team would be afraid to touch me and I would score goals. That was kind of, my last straw. I didn't want to go to school. I tore up all my notebooks, my binders, told my mom I'm not going to school anymore. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like I had the support that I should have had. My mom and I, my infectious disease doctor, met with the school administration, and the principal said, "I wish you could go here, but I can't promise to protect you." The fact about it is that I felt like they didn't even try. I felt like there was so much more that they could have done. And so from that point, I withdrew from the school and continued out my legal year with APC. I personally am way too outgoing and way too involved. I love my mom to death. If you guys read the book, I love her to death. But being home every day and having my mom teach me was not my ideal way of going to school. So I knew I needed to do something. I didn't want to see any other kid have to go through what I was going through. And so that's when I became certified through the American Red Cross as an HIV/AIDS educator and began going into schools and speaking and sharing my story and just letting people know that my HIV status does not define me as a person. I was lucky enough that I found a high school that I refer to as a fairy tale high school. And I went in, shared my story with the principal, the administration, and reassured me that they had zero tolerance for bullying. I started my freshman year, I was really nervous. At first, I didn't tell anybody about my HIV status. I didn't know how they were going to react. I didn't know if it was going to be the same way as it was in middle school. So I kind of kept that to myself through my first year of school, which became really hard for me. I was in a good place, I was cheerleading again. I even made class president my freshman year. I was doing all of the things that I loved doing, but the bullying that I had gone through still had a lasting effect on me. I was still thinking about, I want to tell my best friends here, but what if they do the same thing and they tell it to me? Or what if, nobody wants to be my friend anymore just because I'm HIV positive? So because I kept that bottled up, and because, the effects of bullying affected me, it got to the point where I didn't know what to do. I didn't think there was really any purpose. I ended up taking 15 sleeping pills my freshman year of high school, and ended up in a stress center, and was there for about 3 or 4 days, and I realized, I'm grateful that I'm here today, but, I realized if that I would have been successful, that would have been letting bullies win. That would have been showing them that they succeeded in everything they were saying, everything they were doing. And I knew from that moment that, that was kind of a game changer for me. I needed to continue to take a stand, to continue speaking, and that was kind of a wake-up call for me. Why would I let, all of these kids get satisfaction of, everything that they've been saying? So I went to school and I told my principal, I think I'm ready to tell my entire high school my status. And so my sophomore year, we did a huge assembly like this in front of the entire high school, and I shared my story and said, this is what I went through, and I don't want to have to go through it here. The support I had was absolutely amazing. The principal got up after I spoke and said, Paige, with any problems due to her HIV status, she will no longer be a student here. And that's the kind of support I feel like every teacher, every principal, counselor, whatever it may be, should give their students when it comes to bullying, because it's not a joke. Everything I'm saying goes in one ear and out the other day. I want you to think about one thing. Think about what you say or what you do to a student. And, or a person, a teacher, anything. It might sound cliche right now, but you never know how it's going to affect a person. You never know that one little thing that you think might be a joke is that one thing that pushes someone over the edge. And once you realize what you've done, or that person is taking their own life, or that person is harming themselves, you can't do it. So just really kind of think about what you do. And it always sounds cliche up here, but it really does matter. And it's something where, now I'm 21 I'm lucky enough that I ended up graduating high school with honors and doing all the things I love. I got to Ball State University. It's in Muncie, Indiana, where I started off majoring in molecular biology. And so I stopped in class earlier. So it's okay to change the majors in the middle of college. I mean, I think that starting to apply to college, if you don't know what you want to do, it's okay. I'm in the middle of college and I just changed my major, so I promise it's all right. But, speaking and sharing my story, it's become my way of coping. It's been my way of inspiring others to share their story, to speak up when they see somebody else being bullied, or to speak up, you've been bullied. Or for those of you that, if you're sitting here thinking, I think I might have said something to a student or to somebody that I shouldn't have said. Today is Speak Week to apologize. I have received many apologies over the years from the kids that hard times with in middle school. And I have forgiven them, but it's something that I can never forget. And so, like I said, my HIV status, it doesn't define me as a person, and it definitely doesn't hold me back from anything that I want to achieve. And that goes along with saying anybody that has anything that they're struggling with, use that as a way to keep going. Use that little thing about yourself that's different that you're afraid other people might judge you for, and use it as a reason to kind of be out there, be unique, and not hide behind your group of friends. Everybody's the same, and whatever it may be. Now I'm going to read a passage from my memoir that I think really just kind of explains everything that I do and sharing my story. A lot of times I have students ask me, do you regret telling your best friend? Or do you wish that you were never born HIV positive? So I think this kind of answers that. My HIV, I realized, had done something for me that I wouldn't have known to do for myself. It had given me a way out. It had taken me out of the smallness of the world I discovered and given me a glimpse of something bigger. It had shown me things that were far more meaningful than I might have seen otherwise. The things I'd seen were filled with heartbreaking humanity, compassion, and caring. My HIV had given me a purpose, something I might otherwise never have found. I shouldn't have needed HIV to see these things. All those things are out there, all those amazing people with their strength and stories,